Hello all and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well. As mentioned in a previous video, I've had a catch-up call with the HederaStarter team to talk about the project and the future roadmap, as well as their integration into the Hedera ecosystem. The rest of this video is going to be dedicated to that conversation. If you guys have any questions about the project, I'll be leaving a lot of links down in the description to various Medium articles as well as our website. And I'm sure the team will be available as well in the comments, if not on Twitter, to answer any more of your questions. Without further ado, enjoy. So one of the first things I wanted to ask anyway was, realistically for you guys, what is the top level mission statement for HederaStarter? Like, what are its key functions? What does it provide or enable?
Yeah, so short, simple answer, we are here to grow the ecosystem, but grow it in a healthy, effective manner with teams and projects that have defined character values, that have integrity, that have authenticity. Those are like my two favorite kind of character values and kind of what guides me and what guides the overall kind of HederaStarter project. So obviously the binary, function of a launchpad is to push out projects, push out teams, make sure they get funded. But for me, it's more of a maintaining that the culture that we currently have, and then making sure that we're able to kind of keep it healthy, keep it growing as we incorporate more and more people, because we're going to be expanding audiences at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. So you talk about this idea of pushing projects out there, and I think you mentioned previously that your idea as well is to maintain the quality of those projects. So you're not just kind of a generic launchpad that pushes out nonsense. It's the validity of those projects is something that's of concern.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience kind of developing and putting together kind of unique ideas, and just with my own background, my own history. And so it's like, I have a lot of experience to impart, and I want to make sure that every single project that comes through is able to get that. And then just by nature of the way that HederaStarter is structured, if anyone's gone out and done their homework and read the deck, we have a cool thing called the HDAO, which is basically allows people to stake the HSTART token, which is the native token of the platform, and they'll gain access to the pre-money and the initial, the pre-money, private, and all the initial rounds, however many a project wants to do. And more importantly, there's various different councils that exist within the HDAO, kind of similar to how the governance council works. But each council is representative of a different industry. So we're going to have DeFi. That's probably the easiest thing to kind of imagine as a council. So the DeFi council is going to be tasked primarily with kind of reviewing and assisting myself and assisting the incubation team with reviewing all the DeFi projects that come through. Because what's going to happen is you'll have projects sign up to be incubated, and then they'll have access to ourselves and the HDAO guys, specifically the DeFi industry guys. And so we'll pass through kind of what we think is a good final product after we've done our work and assisted them and gotten to a good final project that we believe is going to be launchable. And then the HDAO members, that industry council, that DeFi industry council, would then review the plethora or review the totality of that project, and then decide, do we want to allow this to pass through, yay or nay? If the vote is yay, then obviously it passes through. The HDAO members, all of them, can proceed to do the pre-money funding rounds with the guys on the council that approved or the project getting first access. And then once all that's done, all the initial funding and all that's secured and the fundraising is good to go, then it proceeds to the IDO platform, the HPAD platform, which is the other part of the HederaStarter ecosystem. So
no, fantastic. And I like the way that you kind of reflect the sort of Hbar notion of the governing council anyway in the project itself. So you've kind of got that mirror effect, which is nice to see.
Kind of add something onto that?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So this also kind of plays into the whole what we're seeing with DAOs and the whole that whole innovation, because what I would assume is going to be possible, fingers crossed, hopefully all the smart contracts, some of the behind the scenes works out. But what I would love to see in the future is DAOs and investment DAOs coming together in groups of people that are represented by DAOs being able to purchase the HSTART tokens and then stake those on the HDAO itself. And so we have DAOs that are representative of groups of people also then providing their own knowledge and their own due diligence to these projects that we do. So it's kind of like a DAO of DAOs that is reviewing other projects and really, having just a wealth of people to pull from. So
yeah, it was
hopefully everything works out and we can do something like that.
Yeah, definitely.
Fingers crossed.
You kind of answered one of my questions there. So one of my questions was going to be, so the HSTART token anyway, natively, I guess, can be staked in like liquidity pools in the kind of DAO that you guys will build within the project.
Yeah, so it'll basically just be like it'll be a single-sided staking. You'll have the
Okay.
HSTART token, you'll stake that to participate. And then we'll have another token that we'll reveal at a later date that we think is going to be pretty interesting as well.
That's okay. And I take it as well with the sort of HSTART token, there's going to be a tiered approach, I guess, to the allocation rounds for like the incubation of the projects.
Yep. So we'll have like the HDAO has its own kind of like structure for token staking, and then the Launchpad will have its own staking structure. I think it's 5 tiers, and then from there we have basically it's 5 tiers, different weights, different allocation sizes. Obviously, the more you have stake, the more higher allocation. But no matter what, it's going to be a lottery-based system.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, cool.
Just higher tiers have a higher chance, but still, that kind of allows enough of a shake to kind of potentially allow kind of the smaller investors or people that would normally not be able to participate to participate in it and have a more of a diversified chance and just a wider kind of opportunity.
Yeah, no, cool. I like that sense as well. Any sort of mass like whale or kind of manipulation, I guess, in terms of allocation, which is cool. So I guess as well, there's going to be, you talk about the incubation period anyway. Is there an incubation period after the tokens of the project's launch? So you get allocated a section of tokens, and then will there be like a lockup period? Is that kind of the plan, or?
Yeah, so that depends on how the project decides to distributional tokenomics.
Sure. Okay.
So generally, I would have, in my own kind of experience developing these guys, I'd have a vesting period and a cliff and everything for all the private, seed, strategic rounds, all the initial rounds. Sometimes projects want to do vesting and cliff rounds for their public IDO rounds. I generally, just in my own experience, tend to advise against that, just because you're getting a lot of retail investors, and some of them don't necessarily kind of understand how the cliff and the vesting stuff works. So generally, it's best to kind of release all the IDO tokens just on that day, whereas all the other initial rounds do have that cliff investing. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it definitely does. Yeah, 100%. Just interesting to see what your take is. I understood anyway, the majority of it is project specific based. Just wondered if you guys had any kind of overarching themes that you wanted to like deploy on the app. But no, it's cool to see that you're quite flexible in terms of what happens anyway. So another question as well in terms of project onboarding. So you talk about the process anyway. So there's definitely several rounds, isn't there, through the sort of DAO process through the council to onboard.
So like, I mean, in theory, this could go on infinitely. Hopefully not, but I'd imagine at least 1 or 2 times my team and my guys and myself will submit and say, hey, we think these guys are good to go, and then the HDAO council, whatever specific council it is, says maybe no, we don't necessarily agree with it, and they say no, and at that point it's okay. It's a matter of conversation. We are like a decentralized project, and so it's a matter of communicating with our guys and figuring out what the HDAO industry council guys didn't like within the project, and then talking to the project, and then trying to come to terms and come to a compromise and say, what can we do to rectify the situation? What can we fix? What can we adjust? And then we'll try again. And then just keep working towards a solution, which I think is going to be best, because we'll end up with a project that's really been refined and really been dug into.
Yeah, fantastic. No, awesome. Talking about the launch anyway, I'll touch on that again in a minute, but have you got any sort of ideas around early participation on the platform? So any ideas of like onboarding potentially testers or any sort of early access for members of the community? Like what's your kind of thoughts on that for the project?
Yeah, so the way that our dev team is kind of, what we're thinking of doing the whole technical side of the roadmap is we're looking at, once we get all the audits finished and all that good to go, then we'll deploy, we'll do the token generation event. We'll deploy, tentatively we're thinking Binance, just because that'll allow us a period of time to do some actual testing. And so we'll have the Launchpad live on Binance, and then everyone's gonna be able to test out, see how everything works, see how the forms work, see how the DApp works, kind of poke holes, figure out any errors or anything that's kind of wonky with the UI UX type stuff. And then once there's good to go and all the dependencies have been resolved, then we can fully utilize like an EVM on Hedera. Then we would migrate over Hedera and then kind of effectively go fully public and launch everything. And then after that, it's off to the races. So the way I'd like to view it is like, hey, we're looking at launching before mid-April, sometime between beginning and mid-April. That is subject to change depending on what the dev guys do not nail me to the cross. We're thinking up to mid-April is kind of when the TGE would be. Then after that gives us time between the launch date and then whenever smart contracts go live. The winds in the air tell me end of Q2 for smart contracts, for like full dependency resolution and all that jazz and everything that we need to run a DApp on Hedera. And then in that time, that'd be great because then the community gets trained up. They know how to use stuff. We can fix any errors, fix any whatever, as I said before. And then, D-Day happens, we're live, we launched, and then we migrate over to Hedera and we're off to the races, man.
Yeah, I think you're pretty bang on with that as well anyway, especially with the anticipation of the actual Hbar or Hedera roadmap with staking towards the end of Q2. It probably is all going to fall in line towards the end of that period as it is. So no, exciting. Yeah, exactly. Fingers crossed. Everything's crossed.
With all the stuff, all the guys.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. In terms of talking about the HSTART token, have you got any sort of initial thoughts on the tokenomics process? Like how much is going to be reserved for you guys? It's like a dev team, any?
Yeah, we actually, it's all on our deck actually.
Yeah.
So if you go into our website, HederaStarter.fi, or if you go into our Telegram or Twitter, wherever, there's links to everything in the deck. And if I can, I can even pull up a screenshot and directly tell you. So based off of, yes, I mean, we have everything laid out. C, private IDO, strategic partnerships, the team, advisors, liquidity, ecosystem development, liquidity mining allocations, community incentives, all the total percentage of the supply that each one is, all the initial unlocks, any cliffs, all the vesting, all that jazz, everything's kind of in that deck. And then specifically for the team, it's about 17.5 million tokens. Total supply is 100 million tokens. So that means team supply is about 17.5%. Initial unlock for the team is 1.75%, which is about 306,000 tokens. 3-month cliff, and then a 24-month vesting period, so a 2-year vesting period.
Okay, that's cool. That's good to know. I think a lot of people in the community will feel a little bit sort of more at ease knowing that there's a bit of a lockup period. I think it's also worth stating as well that you guys are fully partnered with the Hbar Foundation anyway, so there's obviously a robust audit process and paper trail there for onboarding you guys into the sort of network and ecosystem.
I'd like to clarify we are in the process of hopefully submitting the application for the grant. So hopefully we'll have news about that. I have this nice pretty grant that I've been filling out. So I've been doing praying and fingers crossed that whenever hopefully I'll have this done, submit Monday or submit Sunday. That'll go through kind of review process. We'll get feedback, anything that needs to be adjusted, and then once we fix that, then we'll submit that fully, and then we'll be up for consideration at that point. So hopefully, for that specific grant, for the accelerator grant, which is what we're really trying to aim for, that should, I think, hopefully be like up for consideration sometime, maybe late next week, because that grant's important. Because aside from us getting funding and us getting credibility, it's important because that'll allow us to hopefully make the process simpler for projects that we launch to get funding from the Hbar Foundation, and also to kind of gain that credibility, because it's effectively a matter of trust. Does the Hbar Foundation
it's a badge of approval.
Starter? If yes, then by extension, they trust us to do our due diligence. They trust us that we're launching projects that are reputable, that are trustworthy, that are going to do good for the Hedera community, and then represent the Hedera Foundation well. Because I think at the end of the day, a lot of people don't seem to make the connection that even if the humble Hedera token trader, the Hedera NFT buyer, whatever, everyone who interacts with Hedera and utilizes Hedera is representing the ecosystem. And so it's, I think, best interest to be as professional and as good and mindful as possible when we're doing that, so that people, hey, that guy uses Hedera. He's being respectful to me. He's not being a maxi or a psycho guy. So
100%. It's a seal of approval, effectively, from the main team. I guess we could look at it that way. It's also worth noting as well, I think you touched on it previously, that you guys are externally venture capital backed as well. So you guys have enough sort of funds to, what was it, a couple of years of sort of funds to see you out?
We're looking at like 4 to 5 years, assuming things can change that if we want to bring on more developers, bring on more people. And then, but I think we're looking at 4 to 5 years for like zero profits, making no money, kind of just burning.
Yeah, no, 100%. Again, that's sort of good from the community standpoint anyway, just because it shows that, this is less likely to be a kind of rug pull, I guess, because, you guys aren't going to be starved for cash like 3 months into the dev cycle, and you guys are running out of money. So again, it's this long-term vision that you guys have, which I admire. You talked about auditing as well. Are there any sort of audit partners in particular that are looking to audit you guys, or?
I know our devs are friendly with one group of auditors, but like honestly, it's that's a bit of a hassle, because I'm sure everyone's well aware that auditors are really hard to get booked in.
Yeah.
And so, which is why like the timeline is flexible. One of the main reasons why the timeline is flexible, because we're assuming we're going to be able to hopefully get the audits all like set up and scheduled for late March. Because, you know, you have to say, okay, is our code done? Yes. Okay, we can do the audit now. But, you know, for example, if we can't get the code done fast enough, then, you know, you can't really do the audit. So everything, you know, just to have everyone understand, everything's connected to each other. That's how, you know, that's how programming works. Everything's connected, and interconnected in the process. But we are looking at, I think, 2 auditors. And so what will happen is whenever we get the code done, we'll do the 2 audits, we'll get that knocked out, and then we'll do the TGE. And so that's why we're kind of open to potentially either bringing the date forward of the TGE, or more likely would be moving it back, just depending on audits, because we want to make sure we're good to go. We have everything checked as much as possible before we even do like a public demo of stuff.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's just good. It's just good again to hear and sort of reassurance that it's in the roadmap and it's understood that, you know, it's important.
It's not quick. It's not going to snap my fingers. But listen, you know, I want to, you know, if we're going to be a major player, potentially a major player in Hedera, I want to do the best I can to be just as, you know, whatever the Hedera, you know, foundation and those guys would want to see. I feel like, you know, this is kind of what they would want to see. They would want to see due diligence with ourselves and due diligence with their projects.
100%, completely agree. Sort of one of my sort of last questions, I guess, is there anything in the pipeline at the moment for potential partners? So another project that I'm really quite fond of is Hashpack, the wallet application anyway. So I guess interoperability sort of idea, potentially you guys would work with Hashpack.
Yeah, so there's that. There's a few other people that we've been talking to as well. I know I was actually talking to the guys over at Hashpack this morning.
Amazing.
And I was congratulating them. So good job, Hashpack. Awesome. Really awesome to see that for the grant, for them getting the grant. And so I would love to work with them. And we're trying to get something, at least a call set up between their guys and our devs, just to kind of get a face-to-face and say, hey, so working hard, pushing for my end. So we'll kind of see if that kind of pans out. Hopefully it does.
Yeah, definitely. I think they're kind of a gemstone at the moment in sort of the Hedera ecosystem.
They have to be like one of the leading guys. Maybe like Turtle Moon, and the hash market.
Yeah, definitely. 100%. I think as well, it's the sort of resonance I kind of get with you guys as well. They have that flair, that flair and that finish to what they do. So as well as having some crazy roadmap, which I'm sure you guys have got as well from what I've seen, which is really nice to see.
5-year roadmap, almost done with the first month. We're getting there.
Careful, you'll scare most people away. To begin with, 5 years, that's not quick enough.
I'm going to be alive in 5 years. I don't even know.
That's exactly it. You know, you look too far out and people walk away. Honestly, that was most of the questions I had anyway. So, you know, really appreciate sort of talking to you on that. Fantastic. Cheers all. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, drop a comment if you have any further questions, and I'll see you all in the next one.